Welcome to Inside Out with Kris, a podcast where there are no limits or surface level conversations. I'm your host, Kris Burns, a personal development coach on a mission to empower women to move the needle in all areas of their lives. Each week we dive into deep, thought-provoking conversations with inspiring guests. We're talking deep truths, raw experiences, and dropping game-changing takeaways to help you break free of the BS holding you back. Let's transform you from the inside out.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Who Me, the podcast. Today, I am so pumped because we're doing something a little different. I have Kris Burns with me in the studio. She is from Inside Out Coaching and Inside Out with Kris, the podcast. She's just an all-round wonderful woman who just thrives on helping women live their best lives. So I am pumped because we have come together to create a beautiful little series for you guys. It is all relationships, all parenting, step parenting, blended families, all of the things, because together we have both really seen some huge transitions in a lot of our clients' lives, in a lot of your lives online here. We get a lot of questions from people who are going through separations, who are in the trenches at the moment. So we figured, you know what? Let's talk about these hard topics, the weird topics like becoming a stepmom or finding yourself newly separated and wondering who the hell you are outside of just being mum, what your identity is. So I'm so excited. We have some really juicy topics. So over 6 episodes, we will come to you with a brand new topic that we will dive deep on to give you guys some really powerful insights from not only our own personal experiences, but we'll be answering some questions and just doing the curiosity and the pondering ourselves live while you're listening. So buckle up. We really are in for a ride. Kris, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you so much for having me, babe. I'm so excited to have these conversations with you, Dad. Like you just said, these are things that need to be spoken about. And I think in a society where separation and moving on and changing the narrative and walking away from things that might not serve you or growing apart in relationships is actually so common, we're not normalizing the conversation enough in what that does in the family dynamic for children. If you do have children, which the majority of people and mamas listening probably do, and what it could look like walking into a relationship where kids are already existing from the male, right? Like being at our age that we're at, it would be unlikely to be for someone not to have had children, either male or female. One of you is likely going to have kids involved, right?
Yeah.
So I just feel like this conversation needs to be normalized and spoken of more, especially in Australia. And I'm excited to bring that to life over the next 6 episodes, doing this little mini series with you.
Me too. And you brought up something really which is really special because you have done like the stepmother thing, and I am newly separated kind of, but haven't really ventured into that dating world or had to deal with like, you know, my daughter's dad get a new partner. And so all of that kind of stuff is really new for me as well. So I am actually very interested in having these conversations because for this time I've been really focused on just healing and all that kind of stuff. So now it's kind of at the point where we're like, okay, things can start to move forward now, but what does that look like?
Yeah. So absolutely. And I think that like the polarity between our lives is really special and unique to have this conversation around. And like you said, you've been healing your soul, your heart. You've been on this journey for however long since you guys separated, and you haven't had to deal with those things yet. And I promise they are going to activate parts of you, like things will come up. And if you're not aware of it, like if you're not consciously being intentional with your emotions and your mindset and taking care of yourself, things that might seem hurtful or hit certain wounds, you're not going to deal with it in the best way you can as a mom.
Totally.
And as an ex-partner, because it's not, you know, it's never about you. It's always about the kids, right? But I just think that the more awareness we can have, the better it will be. And there was a time where I felt quite alone. I had no friends with stepkids and I felt lonely, and I'd talk about things that I was experiencing, but no one got it. And I think that now it's far more common and it needs to be normalized. And if this can help anyone feel less alone, babe, like anyone be like, oh, that thought is normal, or this is the thing that's happening to me is normal, then that's the goal. If these conversations help just one person in each episode, that's the goal for me.
I love that. Well, let's get things kicked off. So the first topic that I'm excited to speak about, and I think it actually makes sense for it to be like our first ep too. So maintaining your self-identity as a parent while going through that transition. Because when you find yourself, solo parenting or going through a separation and trying to do all the things, it's kind of like, oh my God, who am I now? Like, who am I in this dating world? Who am I in relation to actual love? Who am I in relation to like my own independence and like what I do for myself day to day? Because some people are just so used to being in a partnership or just being mum. And then they find themselves like, oh my God, or it's almost like the thought of leaving is so scary because they're like, who the fuck am I? So then it finally happens and they're like, oh God, what do I do now? So I guess just talking about separation first and foremost before we go deep diving into all the things that happen after separation. But for anyone who's at the point where they're like, I want to maybe leave, but I don't know what that looks like for me. How do I even support myself through this time? And how do I still have a sense of self or even know what my sense of self is after, disconnect?
Yeah, I can only speak from like secondhand experience, I suppose you could say. I'm not separated. I am happily married with my husband. And speaking from experience with my mum, who did leave my father when I was about 8 years old, and they did separate. And what she lost within that experience for her was her entire identity shifted, and she didn't have the resources that we have now. There is tools in your mental toolkit. There are things that you can get and access and opportunities that you can have to learn about what comes next in terms of how to handle your emotions or how to self-regulate, how to support your nervous system as a woman who is making a big change in her life, like any change. They say divorce when I was actually about 8 years old, and in the school put me in school counselling like this. I was like 2 kids in this little school counselling office there. And I remember the lady saying like, divorce is like death. So you're going to process this like grieving the loss of someone that was here and they're no longer here. And that's always sat with me, how heavy divorce actually is for a child and for a woman. For the mother, the matron that is the serving and she's doing all the things. And in most circumstances, she's doing that mental load of all of the things and then also working and building a career and doing things for herself.
Especially the modern woman.
Yeah, that then changes to you share that. And you've got to go, oh, he's in some instances. And also I should probably preface that like everything that we're saying is from our own personal experiences, guys. So like if you're listening and this doesn't relate to you or you're not feeling that aligns with you, that's fine. Like some of this will land and some of it might not as well. But like in some experiences, you're then sharing your kids with a man that may not have done the dinners and the bath times for your entire marriage. And then it's like, he doesn't know how to do it. How's he going to do it? Like, what if they go to bed at the wrong time? What if this is happening? What if that's happening? Yes. And so you can let that pressure weigh you down. Or you can surrender and drop into the fam and like let go of that concept that it has to be 100% how you do it. Let him find his rhythm. Let the kids find their rhythm with dad. Trust that you trusted this person once to love you and to love your child. They still love your child. Like that's not shifted. So can you trust that and surrender to the idea of like that sharing as well?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you do realize how much you stress when that happens. You're like, oh my God. And then you kind of, I guess it's just like anything when you meet your edge of what feels really uncomfortable and you having to surrender and be like, okay, whatever they're doing on dad's week is none of my business. And I actually have to step back. For the helicopter mum, that can be terrifying. And like, I know I went through that. Like, thank God Mila's dad is a wonderful human, so I trust him so much. But still, man, like she'd come back with like bruises and cuts and scratches from like, doing all the dad boy things and like riding around on horses and like all that stuff. And like, I remember there were days where I would lose sleep because I know that they would be going to do something. I'd be like, is she wearing a helmet? Is she doing this? Like, and it's like, of course, they don't want the child to die either. Like, but you do realize like how much you can be in your own head. So it's actually a way of really being confronted. Like it shows you a lot about yourself when you have the space to think for yourself. And when you go through a separation and maybe you have your kids half the time, there's a lot of time. You know, there is a lot of time. And my advice would to be utilize that time and that space and learn how to calm your nervous system. Learn again about the things that you enjoy doing. Like you get to go for walks now. For like, yeah, I started getting into reading. I was smashing books so quickly. And I just really romanticized my time by myself. I still do. That's probably why I'm not dating, because I fucking love being alone. I'm like, I'm so sorry, I don't have any time. I don't have time. I'm like, I'm running myself a bath today. So it's just utilize this time, because I think within a relationship, sometimes it can be really hard for a woman to ask for help. So yes, absolutely. Separation and divorce can be fucking heartbreaking, but this is your time to start healing now if you do get the time. But then some women also do not have that kind of support and don't have the man to take the children half of the time. So now they are actually doing it all by themselves. So I can imagine that kind of overwhelm and that pressure could be a lot for someone to go through.
Yeah.
What would your advice be for someone who now doesn't get even a little bit of help, has to do it all on their own?
Yeah, so that was my mum. She had 3 jobs. Dad had us every second weekend at the most. I don't have a relationship with my father anymore. So speaking from childhood experiences where I had a man that didn't show up, and that became really abundantly obvious later in life. And I was like, you missed the boat. You don't get to be dad now. Like, for me, that shifted things. And a lot of mums will really sit and I say this with love and knowing that you can heal in their victimhood around that. They'll be like, you know, he does nothing. It's called something that was, I was spoken to about it a while ago. It's martyr victimhood, where it's like, you don't help with anything and I'm a great mum. And I'm this and I'm that, but I do it all, and why don't you help me? And that's not enough. Like really being like putting yourself on a pedestal where you're the martyr and you're, no, I can do it all. No, they've got me. I'll never let them down. Don't ask for help, but then sit in that it's dad's fault that I don't have X, Y, Z. It's his fault that because he left and I can't achieve X, Y, Z. Like that victimhood can eat you alive in your life. And like you just said, focus on healing journey. Like when the relationship ends, when that separation commences, like focus on putting all of your energy into seeking resources that can be free. We have YouTube, the amount of information that is free on YouTube in terms of healing stuff. Instagram, like people that are sharing this information, these healing experts. Like I'm a neuro-linguistic programming practitioner, bit of a mouthful, but that is mind, behavior and your patterns. And I try to give so much value as much as I can online, because I'm like, people need to know this information. Like yourself, Dab, like you share so much in terms of healing and your journey and your experience. You can let this information empower you, right? And you can take it all in, or you can push it away and sit in the victimhood of it all and hold on to that energy. And that's not healthy for you or your kids. And it's not going to help you grow, evolve, and let go of the past, right? Like I think that's just really important. It's put your energy focus forward on the healing, like you said, and watch everything else dissolve. And it's almost interesting. I could imagine if there was anyone who maybe was sitting in that space but wasn't aware that that is where they're operating out of, this conversation might actually stir up some feelings of maybe anger or resentment. They don't know what I've gone through. They don't, which is totally valid. Also, though, bring awareness to that. How did that conversation bring something up or spark a little trigger in you? Because if so, there can be some healing done there, and you don't have to sit in the anger or the resentment. And there are ways that you can it's a word. You don't have to forgive or forget, but there are ways for you to be able to soften so your energy does not get leaky.
to anyone else. And it's now more than ever, especially for you and your babies, your number one priority is making sure that you feel good in your body. Because honestly, if you're not feeling good in your body, it's going to be really fucking hard to be a single mom.
I love that.
So it's like, sometimes we need to get thrown into the deep end, and sometimes that can look like a relationship breakdown, getting fired from our job, or kind of at those points where you're like, holy shit, I either sink or swim. And you don't have to swim alone. Like you said, there's so many different free resources you can use, but also there are also so many single mums going through the same thing. So use social media to put yourself out there. And I know it can feel really daunting, but the power of women healing together is so fucking like powerful. It's like alchemy at its finest when women can come together to bring their shitty situations and heal them and turn it into magic and turn their pain into power. It is such a liberating and empowering thing. So like, don't forget about your community.
100%. I love
it. Yeah, and like if you don't have girlfriends around you that you can relate to who are going through the same thing, honestly, reach out. There are so many people that need girlfriends and need community. And there's so many mums groups where they actually get together with the kids as well. So yeah, and sometimes like people's biggest successes come from their hardest lessons in life.
Absolutely.
So I guess like when it comes to finding your identity and being like, okay, I've never been a working mom. Like I've never had to really work before, and now I've got to start doing that and blah, blah, blah. What am I even interested in? And all that kind of stuff. I kind of feel like even though you feel lost, when you start doing the work for yourself and start just calming your nervous system, journaling, asking yourself some questions that maybe you've never asked yourself before, never had to, that can really spark some interesting ideas in what it is you're actually good at. Doing a little audit of your values and where you're at now as a 35-year-old. You know, when was the last time someone even thought about what their values are?
Yeah.
Because they're so used to being on autopilot and being someone's wife that they've just had to show up for and do all the things. They've never, like, they don't get to do anything because they truly, truly are lit up by it. It almost feels like it's autopilot. So this is a really great time to explore those deeper layers to you.
Yeah, totally. My father spoke quite poorly of my mum growing up in any instance and was very much the victim of, your mum took all the money, that's why I don't have money. Like, she didn't, but okay. Like, it was abundantly obvious that that wasn't the case, but in his mind and his experience was, I've got no friends, your mum took all the friends, your mum took all the money, your mum did, like, and that impacted my relationship long term. That was like, my mum never said a bad word. She was like, your dad loves you, he does the best he can. She was always so positive in that experience for me. So growing up, I had that resentment to my father. So if you're someone that is sitting in that victimhood and you think to yourself, no, I don't say anything around the kids, I guarantee you do. And that's going to be hard to hear for some mums because they hear you on the phone. They know when you're texting or arguing with their dad because the energy in the car, they're not silly. Children feel the emotions of the family. They are kids, and really just be radically responsible of your thoughts and feelings and behaviors when you're in their presence. It's not their responsibility to feel that you don't have what you want because their dad's no longer in your life. And just really focus on your healing journey, finding the tools in your mental toolkit that are going to support you. Another great thing is the 5-5-5 rule. So in 5 minutes, 5 months, or 5 years, when's it going to matter? How long is this thing going to matter for? The thing that you're experiencing that's building resentment and anger in the body, your nervous system feels like it's breaking. Maybe you're anxious or you're really emotional and you're crying and you're sad. Like, that sadness, how long is this going to sit with you? Are you going to choose to let it sit with you? 5 minutes, 5 months, or 5 years? Decide today. It's like 5 minutes will do. Great, give it 5 minutes, and then let's focus on shifting that energy. Let's move out of that energy that you're sitting in right now by choice, river, and intentionality.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you kind of don't have a choice but to be really present when you're with the kids if you don't want it to rub off with them. So like if you are in a bad mood or something's going down or you're just feeling in the shit, and your main focus is making sure that your children are having the best experience in that moment. It's like bringing yourself to the present moment and out of your head. At the end of the day, everything passes. You figure this out really quickly when you're going through a separation and heartbreak and all that kind of stuff, because before you know it's been 2 years and you're like, oh yeah, I remember I was sad and it was like really bad and I wanted to like crawl into a ball and just stay there forever. But then at the end of the day, it actually does go really quickly. And the best thing that you can do in the moment is just to know that this too shall pass, and just anchor yourself in each present moment with your children, just being as present and grounded as you possibly can be, and trying your best to calm yourself down and calm your nervous system down whenever you are feeling like tensions are getting like high or emotions are getting high, because it really does go quickly.
Yeah.
And before you know it, like I say this to my clients all the time, like, I know it feels big now. And I know it feels like you don't know which way to swim. And I know it feels like all consuming, but I promise you there's a light at the end of the tunnel. And when you choose to show up for yourself and work on yourself and give yourself the love that you have not been giving yourself for a really long time, time just speeds up when it needs to, and then it slows down in the yummiest of moments, and it gets to feel really good soon. You just have to kind of keep yourself grounded, keep yourself accountable, have compassion for yourself, absolutely, but remember that holding on to like the resentment or the grudges or the angriness or all that kind of stuff is not doing anyone any favors. It's just kind of hurting you more. So the best thing you can do is just try and stay grounded and take one step in front of the other to get through each day.
Yeah. And I also feel like thinking about the hardest thing you've ever done prior to this experience, think about that moment and think about how small that feels right now and how big at the time it might have been, or it could be childbirth or like whatever it is that you've been in, and that was the hardest thing that you've ever gone through. Think about that now. It's not as big of a deal as it was then. Again, like this too shall pass.
Yeah.
Like you're on the other side of this.
Yeah. Survived every hard thing thus far. Look at you go.
Yeah.
Personally, Kris, just in relation to being a mom and all the things, and also still keeping your identity, what kind of challenges have you personally faced in maintaining your sense of individuality, and how have you navigated moments when you felt overwhelmed or lost in your parenting role?
Yeah, so to start with, I became a mom in a way that I became a stepmom. That's sort of the first entry into motherhood that I experienced. At the time, I didn't experience it as in, I didn't say out loud like they're my kids. Like didn't feel that way at the time, but reflecting on it and the things that I went through at that point in my life, it was a whole new season of my life. I entered it in a mother role. I was making lunches. I was sacrificing my time. I was doing afternoon sports. I had 2 little girls living with me. So my season and identity shift was with 2 not fully grown, they were like 4 and 6, but they weren't babies and they weren't mine. And I had this time where I had them, and then the other half of my life I didn't. And I was like, oh, what do I do with my hands now? Like, that's how it sort of felt for a long time for me. So I did go through a really big identity shift at that point. It's really just honoring yourself. I'd probably suggest, number 1, honor yourself, honor your boundaries, honor your health. That is so important, because things shifted really fast. It was like a rapid speed of we live together. Okay, we've got the girls 50% of the time, and they've got tennis and guitar and like all these great things, and we were still getting to know each other as well, and learning like my role in their life. So I entered motherhood as such in a really non-conventional way. I then had my son, I can't remember how much longer now time-wise, but yeah, I've been a stepmom for about 7 or 8 years now. Don't quote me on that. I am not good with calculations. But in terms of the identity shift, it played out in a really big, amplified way for me. It felt like, oh, who am I? I don't see the light at the end of the tunnel. I couldn't see it for the first like year or so, because I'd have them and then I didn't have them, and then like we would find that we're just trying to do things in that week that we didn't have the girls, and then it got to a point where, and this might make me cry, but got to a point where I loved them so much and I knew they weren't mine, and I knew that it wasn't their mum, but they felt like my kids. And then they'd have to go, and I had those feelings that you experienced, which was, are they wearing a helmet? Are they doing this? Are they doing that? Like, of course they are. They're with their mum. But in my heart, it's like, oh, but fuck, like I'm meant to be the one that protects them, or you just don't know what's going on. And that was a really hard thing to surrender to for me, because I'm someone that very much likes being in control and likes knowing what happens next and knowing my future plans. And that was all just completely removed. So there was this huge shift in my personal identity, and I didn't really know where to place these anxious symptoms. I was someone that never had anxiety or symptoms of anxiety in my life, and suddenly that reared its ugly head. And I had those symptoms where I'd be thinking about them or staying up at night, not unable to sleep and things like that. So the way that I shifted these things was getting in control of my emotions, doing the inner work on myself, learning that my worth is not dependent on anyone but me, and really focusing on my relationship, focusing on my relationship when they weren't there, and how we can make the most of the quality time and things like that. When I became a mum to my son, I mentioned to you before we started recording that it felt almost like I had postnatal depression, because I was like, oh, everyone talked about this big, overwhelming glowing sense when they get on your chest. It's like, oh, I love you so much. I didn't get it. I'm like, oh, cool, a kid, like I've got a baby. But I am that nurturing mom. Like I am that mom that like is affectionate and loving and devoted to her, like the two girls. So I'm like, why don't I get that? Like I birthed my own child. Shouldn't I feel this way? And I sat in resentment to myself for a long time over that. And then I started doing some more personal development work on myself and more healing. And this really came up for me, and I was able to finally have some more awareness on it. I'm like, oh, I was already a mum. No, they're not my kids, but I was already a mum. And that was something that I didn't know to be true until a long time after. And a lot of really nasty thoughts and feelings around myself in between becoming a biological mother to my son. And a lack of understanding and awareness. So that might relate to someone that's listening. I don't know, but I feel like you need to do the work. Like, don't wait. Stop avoiding it. If you haven't started, you're obviously listening to Dab's podcast because you want to know more. You want to explore more. You might be on the edge there. Like, let's dive in, do the work on yourself before you have any parental role in your life. Totally. Sorry, that was a bit of a tangent.
No, it's like, it's so true. And I don't really know what that would feel like, but I'm sure that there's people out there who'd be like, wow, okay, that hits. I totally get that. But everyone goes through such a journey. Like when they become parents, it's like some people do have that overwhelming, oh my God, I've been waiting for this my whole entire life. And then all of a sudden it's like, holy shit, this is a lot harder than what I thought. Or, oh my God, now my relationship's taken a turn. Like becoming a parent can throw many, many spanners in the works. And I guess it's just like learning who you are outside of that and your resilience and like how capable you are of dealing with absolutely anything that pops up. But it can be really, really weird. Like just becoming a mom and then, becoming a wife or then unbecoming a wife and then just being a mom and then having all this spare time and being like, who the fuck am I? Yeah. But I think the biggest thing in just making sure that, the biggest thing in exploring who you are outside of just being mom or just being a parent or being in those roles is just making sure that I always say to my clients, just do 3 things a day for yourself. Just 3 things. So whether it's going outside and having your coffee in silence before the house wakes up and just letting the sun be on your face so you can just be. These tiny little things fill your cup. You don't realize, like, it doesn't take long. We don't need to go out and be on a week-long retreat for us to feel like a new person. Like we can do these 1% every single day. And some people do the same 1% every single day. And that's fucking amazing because guess what? That turns into a habit. That turns into a lifestyle. So part of your lifestyle is actually showing up for yourself. You know what I mean? A lot of people have not shown up for themselves in a really long time. So half of that piece of like, who the fuck am I outside of being a parent or being in a relationship is, well, how much love are you giving yourself? How much attention are you bringing to yourself? How much awareness do you have in your body? How safe do you feel in your body?
Yeah. Like, you called in your partner at some point, and if I were to ask like a newly separated mum right now, how much do you actually love yourself? I can guarantee you're going to say, like, I don't love myself. So your relationship didn't work out because you were misaligned from the beginning because you don't love yourself. So focus on putting that energy into finding love for you, and then notice how that's going to then attract the right partner when you're ready, when the timing's right. Like, you've also got to trust that process. And that's a tricky thing to do. But I think if you put so much energy into feeling like you have Dav as well, like if you put so much into that, you will only get back. You've just got to be patient with that.
Yeah.
Something that came up when you were talking before, like, you haven't had that experience as yet of your ex-partner introducing another woman to your daughter yet, which will be something that a lot of women have done. A lot of women are yet to do. The one thing that I can just advice that I can give anyone that might be walking into that or has walked into that, your child loving someone else is not a reflection of them not loving you. My mom said that a long time ago, and it's something that she really lived by in her experience in divorce. My dad had a few different girlfriends over the years, and she was like, you loving them was never a reflection of you not loving me. I knew that, so I was cool with that. Yeah, if I can teach my kid to have an open heart and to be kind and love someone else that is looking after them when I'm not there, that is driving them to school, that is doing things whilst I can't control that I'm not doing that, I'm not going to hurt my child or tell them that they're getting it wrong because they have an open heart. Like, I shouldn't. Be proud of that. Be proud of the job you and your husband have done to allow your child to feel safe with another adult that's willing to give their love as well. I think that's really important.
Yes, I love that. And just surrender. Surrender to it, and don't be afraid to feel. Don't be afraid to feel all the things, because, you know, when you feel them, it means you got to heal them. So yeah, you'll either feel them and it'll be really bad, but sometimes when it gets to that really bad point, that's when you hit rock bottom and you're like, fuck, I should probably do the work.
Yes, absolutely.
So we end up getting there anyway. But my love, thank you so much. There are so many beautiful little helpful tips and tricks and things along the way. But I guess the general consensus about the identity piece in parenting and motherhood is really kind of prioritizing, digging a little deeper and doing that work. Hey,
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And thank God you're in the right place. So you're listening to the right stuff if you want to be doing that. But thank you so much, my love. We will be back with another episode in our beautiful little mini series. Thank you so much, Kris.
Thanks, babe.
Yay!
Thanks for tuning in to today's episode. If this landed for you, I would love if you can share this conversation to your socials, and don't forget to tag at Inside Out with Kris. Don't also forget to hit subscribe or follow so you don't miss next week's conversation. Bye.